Now we gonna put the 4 Portuguese-speaking countries in Africa. One of one of them y'all never even heard of. I know it. Let's see. We're gonna add these countries. Because after South Africa, we're gonna do this and we're gonna go somewhere else. We got Angola, Mozambique, Cabo Verde, and Sao Tome. Y'all never heard of Sao Tome. I'm pretty sure most of y'all have not.
Hi guys. So for the last 3 weeks or maybe a month, Austin has been on this campaign of attack against Africans, right? And that is a complete change from how he was the first 4 months, or he's been in Africa for 5 months now. For the first 4 months or the first 4 months and a week, he was very careful not to attack Africans, not to offend Africans. And if he thinks he has offended Africans, he would apologize. If Africans told him they were offended, he will apologize. In fact, sometimes he even apologized before Africans would tell him they were offended. Like on this video,
Uh, for any Tanzanians watching, please correct me. Please forgive me if I said anything disrespectful about your culture, because I've had an issue with, I guess, not understanding what's offensive and not to people. I'm not here to offend anybody.
he did a comparison between Tanzanian women and Brazilian women, and he was worried that he might have offended Tanzanians before even the video was out, before even any Tanzanian watched the video and told him that they were offended. Before even all that, he apologized in the video itself. He's like, if I offended you, I apologize. Let me know. Da, da, da. That's how he used to be. But now it's gone. To the opposite. It's gone the other way. He not only doesn't he care if he offended Africans, it almost looks like he goes out of his way to offend Africans. Like, when he posted this disgusting tweet saying that 80% of the women he dated in Africa were below his standard, and instead of apologizing, which is what he would have done, a month or so ago, that's what he would have done, when Africans told him that it was offensive. And instead of apologizing, he brought the same tweet and posted it on his community wall. And then he had a live where he doubled down on calling African girls ugly. And since then, it has just, even ramped up even more. He is almost every day calling Africans scammers, saying all kinds of stuff. I think today he even had a live. I think it's going on right now where he's probably going to say that Africans scammed him out of $50 or something. It's actually like the the title is the real reason Africans can't get ahead. And I think he probably would say the reasons we could not get ahead is because we are overcharging him $50. And that is, something you would expect from a white supremacist, because white supremacists want to deny the systemic issue and instead blame the problem on individual black people, individual African people. So yeah, so I'm not surprised. But why is he like, why the sudden change? Why had he gone from pandering to Africans to attacking Africans? There is two reasons. One is he probably had always hated Africa, but he could not verbalize or make that feeling public because he needed Africa, right? Because he didn't have anywhere else to go, so he has to keep his true feelings about Africa private. But like I said on this video, the video that I posted about 10 days ago, he now believes that Brazil is opening back up, like Brazil can take him back. He could return to Brazil without putting himself in legal jeopardy. Now his true feeling for Africa, he can publicize those true feelings for Africa. So watch that video. I mean, I explained in that video. But the other thing I think is also he is desperate for views right now. He is so desperate for views. As you guys know, that after Kesa left him, his video views have crashed. They have flopped, and like he went from getting 40,000 views in a day. Now he barely clears 10,000 views a day. Since Kesa left him, the only time he got like close to 40,000 a day or in a day or two was when he brought Crystal back. But the problem is now Crystal doesn't want to be on his show any longer. So this guy is desperate for views, and views are very important to him, right? Because that is his largest source of income. Yes, I think he gets income from membership, and he gets income from super chats. Are they called super chats? And yeah, stuff like that. But I think the majority of his income comes from revenue sharing with YouTube, right? So, but his views have crashed. They are now very like his views are really low right now. He's flopping. So what he has decided is, to get those views back, to get to the same level of viewership that he used to have when he was bringing, African girls on his show. He has decided, to be controversial, to be offensive, to say offensive things so that people could watch, because people like to watch, when there's controversy, when there is attacks, so he is attacking Africa because he probably believes that the attack, people would either hate watch, or if not hate watch, there are love watch too. Like there are probably people who like to watch people attacking Africa, right? Because Africa, there are a lot of hateful people around the world, and there are a lot of people who hate Africa. So they probably like watching Auston attacking Africa. So I think Auston is now attacking Africa because he believes, that would bring him more views. And we should not be surprised, because like Kesa said, Kesa called him on her last video, or the one before the last, she called him narcissist. I can't call him narcissist because I can't, but she did call him narcissist.
I don't have a problem with Auston, even though it seems that Auston has a problem with me. I obviously tried my best to hate him, especially after all the disrespect and everything that he said about me online, which by the way is completely false. That was just a typical narcissistic behavior, trying to make me look bad while he looked good.
And one thing about narcissists is that they don't have, their morality is about the end justifying the means. If something gets them to the end result they want, they don't care how they got there. They don't care if they got there by truly disgraceful means, if they got there by truly disgusting ways. And for Auston, as Kesa said, he's a narcissist, right? Him as a narcissist, he doesn't care that he is harming Africans by constantly calling us scammers. What he cares is whether that is getting him views, whether his views are going back up. He doesn't care if he's harming Africans. He doesn't care, because narcissists only care about themselves. They have zero empathy for other people. And this guy right now, he's desperate for views. So as his desperation gets worse and worse, expect the attacks against Africans to get even worse and worse. And and you could see the desperation. He is doing, things that accounts with very few followers do, right? He is like, it's kind of sad to watch in a way, because it's almost like watching a washed up celebrity doing something that they once, looked at, one where which at one time was beneath them. Like, Austin is doing things that accounts with 1,000 followers, accounts with 4,000 followers do, right? He was on the live, I think the day before, and he was like, the goal for this live is, or the show is 300. And I'm like, oh my God, that is what Peso says. That is something, and Peso only has like less than 2,000 followers. Yeah, so you expect, people like accounts like Peso to do it because they are so small. That's the only way they can make money. But to hear an account with almost 80,000 followers using that tactic is almost like pathetic. But it tells you how low the views have gotten and how desperate this guy had gotten. And it is, and then the next day he lowered the goal to 200.
What y'all really think? Also, we do have a show goal today, which is $200. So if you guys would like to,
like, oh my God, that means, he didn't, the day before, he didn't get $300. I mean, imagine, he has such a big follower, but he couldn't, get $300. I mean, that tells you how bad it has gotten, right? And then what was so pathetic was that he also said, he was going to charge people $5 to be on the live, like, to come up on the live.
so we got 3 people in the back. These are the first 3 people for free. If you would like to join the chat, donate a $5 super chat. I mean, a $5 super chat or cash app at the bottom, $ cash app.
And I'm like, that again is something accounts with low following number do, because those accounts, they don't make a lot of money from, revenue sharing with, from view revenue sharing with YouTube. So they have to get money, one way or another. And one way they do is, charge people to be on, to come up on live. And and I'm like, oh my God, this guy has gotten so desperate, so desperate. And what was so pathetic for me is that no one take him up on his offer. No one, was willing. I think maybe one person, I think, but not that many. And it was so sad to watch, because a lot of people, like Austin, when he's on live, like, you would see a lot of people wanting to come up, but now that he wants to charge $5, like, no one wants to come up there. And I'm like, oh my God, he has gotten desperate enough to, to charge $5 for people to come up. And still, the people that were clamoring to come up on the live when he was not charging, they don't want to do that. And it's like, oh my God, the desperation. And the fact that, desperation had led him to use that tactic, and it still didn't work. It was so pathetic and so sad to watch. And the only way, I mean, this guy, for a lot of his viewers, watch him to watch beautiful women, him interacting with beautiful women. But right now, at least in Africa, beautiful women are not going to be on his show, because they know that he is going to call them ugly. Who would want to, what girl would want to be on a show where the producer of that show, the host of that show, is going to call you ugly the moment you left his room or whatever, the moment you exit the show? I mean, no one. I mean, and then, the way he treated Kesa after she left him, it's like, it's like, for a lot of girls, that is, warning. That is, they don't want to be associated with a guy whom, if after they left him, he's gonna go after their mom, he's gonna go after them, he's gonna go after their dad, he's gonna go after, he's gonna spread malicious rumors about them. Who would want to be with a guy like that? And it's so like Crystal has been on his show like a lot of time, right? But even her, she doesn't want to be back on his show. And for me, that is so so sad, and it shows you how toxic this guy has become. She's like a model, she's like a social media personality, and being on Auston's show would probably have helped her. But Auston has become so toxic that even women who are seeking social media attention are not willing to be on his show. And it's gonna get even worse, because for one thing, we know that this guy never learns, right? Like what's her name? Kesa said he's a narcissist, and narcissists never learn from their mistake, because narcissists never believe that they make mistakes. If they do something wrong, it's not because of them, it's because of another person. So he probably still doesn't believe that the way he treated Kesa, and the way he has been labeling African girls as ugly, is the reason girls like Crystal do not want to return to his show. So instead of trying to improve himself, let me finish this train of thought, and I'll have another thought to bring up. Instead of improving himself, instead of realizing that the problem is him, he now is trying to seek his followers on Crystal. He's basically telling them to harass her on her DM. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing that? When the girl says no, it should be no. But then, this guy is a red pillar, right? Red pillars do not believe women's no really means no. So, of course, he's going to send his minions to harass her. So, and it's telling, right? Because he said that he doesn't post girls, the girls he brings on his media. He doesn't post their what they call social media account, because he doesn't want the men that watch him on his show to flood their DMs, with telling them they will send them money. But now that he wants Crystal to be back on his show, he doesn't mind men flooding her DMs, right? So that tells you, like I said, narcissists, again, for them, they only care about themselves. He didn't want women like Crystal to be flooded with DMs from men, when that flooding would result in Crystals, in Kesa and other girls getting money. When it would benefit the girls, he doesn't want men to contact the girls. But when it benefits him, he wants them to contact the women. So, and as he shows more and more of his true self, I think more and more women and girls will stay away from him. And this is not related to anything, but related to his being a narcissist. He had this short where he was trying to explain why he and Crystal were trying to explain why Crystal stopped coming to his show. And Crystal, she's so sweet. I mean, and I'm not just saying that because of this video. If you watch a lot of her videos, she comes across as truly sweet, as truly genuine girl. And she said, the fault was both sides. It was both her and Auston's fault.
It's currently in Nairobi. I'm not gonna say the other part. So Miss Crystal here, you saw how she looked at me. Miss Crystal here has a confession that she wants to make. She wants to explain why she was never in any more of the videos.
Oh, because Austin cut me off.
It's fake news and it's propaganda. So what was
Oh,
it
you
again?
didn't cut me off?
No, you cut me off. You told me to
Okay,
enjoy
we
the rest of
cut
my
each
trip.
other off
Oh,
because of a small issue that we're gonna talk about.
it was actually her fault, not mine. But
I feel like it was a two-way thing.
it was partially
Yeah.
your fault as well, but it wasn't my fault at all.
And Austin said, yes, kind of, like. But right away he said, well, it's partially you and I didn't do anything. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so Trumpish and that is so narcissist. Narcissist will never take responsibility. Crystal was willing to take, partial responsibility, but he will not take, even like, and it looked like, they were just joking, but even jokingly, he would not take responsibility. And by the way, one reason I think I have always said that Austin is the Black Trump, and I see a lot of Trumpness in him. The fact that he cannot make joke on himself, the fact that he is vindictive,